Washington State Representative from the 4th District. And Nick Bob McCaslin, is he here yet? We have Bob McCaslin confirmed as a speaker here today, so hopefully he shows up. He's also a state representative out of the 4th District. We got Ken Atkins, who's in the Spokane District, Initiative 1621. I encourage you guys to take a good look at that, put your John Hancock on it. Signing it doesn't pass any laws or anything. It just simply allows a discussion to be had on changes that can be made. And I think that's going to play a huge role in keeping our kids safe at school. We've got Randy Mace with the Lightfoot Militia out here today. He's going to be speaking. We've got Robert Smith, who's the owner and instructor at Safe LLC. He's also the director for the Ferdinand and Rod Gun Club. And lastly, we have Cecily Wright, who's the co-founder of the Northwest Grassroots out here with us today. And we'll be finishing the speaking portion off with a song performed by Taylor and Carson. The song is going to be I Am Proud to Be an American. Yeah. I've prepared some talking points that I'd like to touch on before I hand the mic over, or the blowhorn, whatever you want to call this thing. I don't really consider this a speech because I'm not good at speeches, but I just want to bring up some points. So here we go. I am not some right-wing extremist, as some members of our community would have you think. I am a husband, I am a father, I am a grandson, a son, a brother, and a hard-working, tax-paying, functional member of our Spokane community. I love this city. I was born here, raised here, and I'll likely live out the rest of my life here. All 3 of my children attend local elementary schools, and I want to ensure for them a safe and comfortable learning environment. I think the Initiative 1621 is part of the equation to make that possible. I am not a dangerous, quote-unquote dangerous person because I choose to equip myself with a life-saving tool. As a matter of fact, I'm quite the opposite. I have been vetted through the Spokane Sheriff's Office. I have had a background check. I am fingerprinted and put in the system. I am a law-abiding citizen. I choose to carry because I don't get a say in when disaster strikes. I don't get to choose that moment. But I can prepare for it when it does. And let it be known that if disaster strikes you when I'm around, your chance of survival goes up. As a responsible firearm owner, I undergo many hours of studying, researching, and training, getting certifications to help further my safety and the safety of my community. I believe a responsibly armed society is a much more polite society. However, this belief does not fall among all Spokanites. As a matter of fact, for some, believe we are gathered here today to invoke fear. But that cannot be further from the truth. Good. Nope. No. We want to educate our community on firearms and bring forth a meaningful conversation on how we can improve the safety of not only our community but our children while they're at school. We share many common goals with the opposition, but the points of discussion are all pointed in the wrong direction. We should not be willing to give up our rights for a false sense of security through new legislation. We gather here today in full support of the Second Amendment and all our God-given rights. The Constitution is the foundation on which this country was built. I'm a carpenter by profession, so I speak from experience when I say, if you start chipping away at the foundation of the building, you are jeopardizing the integrity of that structure and putting it at risk of collapsing. I hope this helps put into perspective how very important our Constitution is. Not to any specific political party, but to everyone, everywhere across this great nation. If that does not help shed some light on the topic, then think of it this way. The Constitution is a pact between the people of this great nation and the government officials we've elected. If that pact is broken by those government officials, the people are no longer obligated to recognize the government, as they are acting unconstitutionally. This great nation was not fought for and built around a government. This great nation was built around the people, with the people holding the majority of the power.
All of it.
If the government thinks that it can overstep its freedom-loving constituents whom they are supposed to represent, then they are dead wrong. We need the government for some things, sure, but we do not need a radically intrusive government willing to unconstitutionally restrict our God-given rights. We will not sit idly by and watch our Constitution get further trampled on by those who are in office and who have pledged an oath to uphold our Constitution. Enough is enough. The First and the Second Amendments are purposefully put in the forefront of the Bill of Rights. The Second Amendment, contrary to some people's belief, is not for hunting or for sport. The amendment was written into our Constitution by our Christian, freedom-loving forefathers for the sole purpose of securing our nation's ability to resist tyranny, be it foreign or domestic. Woo!
Yes.
In order to have that ability to resist tyranny, we must secure our right to have access to modern arms, in which any modern form of tyranny will be equipped. Right now, everyone is placing the blame on a tool. London is placing the blame on knives. Americans are placing the blame on the AR-15, which they are calling a full semi-automatic firearm. You see, it's easier to place the blame on an inanimate object than it is to take a hard look at what's going on within our society. We are the problem. And to fix that, we must start by making changes within the home. My home, your home, everybody's home. We must teach our children how precious life is. Teach them to have good principles and instill in them a good moral compass. In my honest opinion, I feel placing the blame on a tool to be nothing more than the blame game. So let's play that through real quick. Let's say, for example, we remove these tools from the equation by banning them or whatever you would like to do. Isn't it logical to think that another tool is going to rise up to take the blame? At which point we will then remove it from the equation, and the process would repeat itself until only hands and feet are left to blame. The hands and feet, ladies and gentlemen, are the cause of more deaths per year than the AR-15.
Yep.
The AR is a far more dangerous tool than hands and feet, though, isn't it? No. Everyone I know, no matter what side of the table they fall on, wants greater safety in our community and in our schools. The bickering and the virtue signaling must stop, and solutions must be brought forth. It is imperative that one thing remain apparent throughout this whole process. That one thing is upholding the Constitution of the United States of America. I'd like to know why politicians cling to their armed guards for safety. Yet at the very same time, they allow our schools to be protected by signs that read gun-free zone. How much sense does that make? Every aspect of society that has been deemed important, such as banks and courthouses, the White House, they all allow people carrying firearms for protection. Yet we prohibit the same implication for other important aspects, such as our schools and our concerts or large events. Gun-free zones were implemented to deter gun crime from happening within those zones. Unfortunately, they have had the exact opposite effect and are now intended targets for those who wish to pursue acts of great violence. Why has nobody taken a hard look at this and noticed that 98% of mass murders happen in gun-free zones? I myself myself have experienced firsthand what it's like to lose a loved one through the use of a firearm. Yet I do not place the blame on a tool, because I know that an inanimate object cannot and did not act on its own. So as I wrap this up, I'd like to give thanks to the 1.3 million veterans who gave their lives protecting our rights. Let's reassure their families that they did not lay down their lives for a broken and divided nation. I'd also like to thank everyone who's a part of the Spokane Concealed Carry Group, particularly those who donated to make this event possible. I'd like to thank everybody who's in attendance here today. I'd like to thank the City of Spokane Park Operations Center, as well as the Spokane Police Department for showing their support here today. As a personal request for anybody out there watching this, I would ask everyone who is blaming the tool right now to ask yourself, why am I blaming the tool? Mike Fagan's going to take over. He's got some other business to attend to, so he's going to take over here real quick and share his thoughts with us.
Hey, Mike! What a way to go ahead and get things started. And I tell you, how about another hand for Ted? Thank you very much for hosting this, for sure. Now, folks, our founders displayed some great insight when they came up with the Second Amendment. Why? It is because they knew tyranny. And they wanted to ensure that Americans had a means to safeguard against a tyrannical government's oppression into the future. Let me give you a couple of examples of what that tyranny has looked like. In 1946, take a look at Athens, Tennessee. 1992, Ruby Ridge, Idaho. 1993, Waco, Texas. 2014, the Bundy family. In 2016, Lavoy, Bennicum. It is for these examples that the founders made the Second Amendment what I call an absolute amendment. Why? It's because it shall not be infringed. The Second Amendment shall not be infringed. Say it with me. The Second Amendment shall not be infringed. Now, as you know, we patriots, we red-blooded Americans are not out of the woods by any means on the Second Amendment, especially in today's political environment. But there is something that you can do to help while helping yourselves. Let me encourage you in the strongest possible way. We need to get people to the polls to vote and participate in our government. The onus is on each and every one of you. Friends, family members, congregation members, co-workers. We need to be talking to these people, informing them, educating them, and getting them to participate. Everybody have a great day out there. Once again, the Second Amendment. Yeah, buddy. Everybody have a great day.
Matthew Shea. This side? Yeah, this side.
That helps.
Matthew Shea is going to come up and he's going to fire away. Get us all riled up. Give us Matthew Shea a chance.
seeing all the things that are happening. We're watching some real ignorant statements being said throughout our country. But you know something? Because all of us are here today, they will never succeed at disarming Americans. Never. Now, I don't want to mince words, and y'all know me, I don't mince words, ever. A good friend of mine, Representative Dave Taylor, asked one of our Democrat friends, what does AR stand for? Thank you. It's not assault rifle. That was their answer, right? And one of those automatic killer 47s, right? Gracious, really. The role of government, I think we need to get back to that. The role of government is to protect our God-given unalienable rights, not take them away. And I'm going to have some pretty harsh words for the socialists who want to disarm us, okay? Pretty harsh words. If you want to take away our AR-15, you are in rebellion to the Constitution of the United States of America. And the idea that an AR-15 or that the Second Amendment to Article 1, Section 24 of the state constitution was limited to muskets is about as asinine as the free speech clause being limited to quill pens, ink bottles, and horse and riders carrying letters places. But make no mistake about it, they're not attacking just the Second Amendment, they're attacking the First Amendment as well. In California, a state senator introduced a bill that would require fact checkers, of course approved by the state, fact checkers to approve news stories before they're published. Can you say Pravda? I mean, my goodness gracious. And the
Sounds
fact
like
of the matter
Facebook.
is, we're using the First Amendment right now, gathering together today, peaceably assembling, to protect all the other amendments. But let it be very clear that if you try to take that away from us, we have the Second Amendment to make sure all the other amendments are protected as well. I also want to say something, too, about gun control and logic. Okay, I know those two don't usually get mentioned in the same sentence. But look it, hammers are used to kill people. Baseball bats are used to kill people. In fact, blunt objects are used to kill more people per year than firearms times 10, according to some of the things that I've seen. And you know what? We don't see a ban on a Louisville slugger. We don't see them trying to ban cars on the road. We don't see them trying to make our knives registered. Yeah, just wait. Yeah, really. And look, guns stop. Nobody ever talks about this. Depending on who you talk to, guns stop 5 to 10 times more crimes than they're ever used to commit. Why don't we admit that guns are actually saving lives out there and are actually stopping crimes and thieves from breaking into our cars? Now, I could stand here today, I could say unequivocally, guns saved my father's life in war. I could say that guns saved my cousin's life. I could say that guns saved a friend of mine's life and saved her from being raped. I could say that guns saved my life from a crazy road rager. I could say that. Why don't we unashamedly say that everywhere we go? Because it's not just about hunting, but it's about protecting individual lives, and most importantly, we have the right to bear arms for the exact moment when tyrants say we're going to take them from you. It's about people control, isn't it? It's not about gun control. And I don't know, I went to school and I learned English. I believe that shall not be infringed, shall not be impaired, mean what they say, don't you? Yep. So if that's the case, doesn't matter what a government bureaucrat or a socialist or a journalist says. We don't get our rights from man, we get our rights from God.
Amen.
And no one can take them away. I'm going to share a story of a friend of mine named Don Amon. He was down in Las Vegas when that shooting started happening. And that man saved over a dozen lives. A police officer who was shot through the neck, he saved his life as well. And he came and testified in Olympia, and he said, so let me get this straight. You want me to survive Las Vegas and come back home here to Washington State to be made a criminal because you want to ban bump stocks? Wow. Imagine that. Imagine that. Criminals don't obey the law. How many laws do they break before they go into a gun-free zone and shoot it up? The only thing that stops a bad guy with a gun is a good guy with a gun. Now I want to read a quote from Erich Fromm. He was a German psychologist who wrote extensively about the fear of freedom. That's what the gun controllers have. They have a fear of freedom. Here's what he said. He found that the capacity to doubt and criticize and disobey may be all that stands between mankind, the future of mankind, and the end of civilization. So what does that mean to us? Just like my Irish ancestors, when the British brought the Irish penal laws that said you can't own a sword, they exercised something called Irish democracy. Okay? You have that law, that's really nice and great, but I'm not going to comply with it. You have that law that says you're going to take away my AR-15, I'm not going to comply with it. My Irish ancestors had to endure horrible hardship when they were disarmed. And understand something, that I follow the real Patrick Henry, not the blog. And the people that say that rallies are dumb, it's dumb to come out here, this is what Patrick Henry said. We are apt to shut our eyes against the painful truth and listen to the song of that siren till she transforms us into beasts. Is this the part of wise men engaged in a great and arduous struggle for liberty? I believe that. That's why we're here today. I believe it. And I believe that fighting tyrants isn't something we talk about. It's our duty as Americans.
Yes, sir.
It's our duty as Americans. So I want to end with this. I want to end with the story of Samuel Whitmore. Who is Samuel Whitmore? Well, he was a 78-year-old farmer. In 1738, he was sued for defamation because he was using the First Amendment, but he didn't call it that back then. It was just free speech from God to fight against what he was seeing as tyranny. Then in 1766, he joined the Committee for Correspondence in Cambridge. And then in 1776, on April 19th, when the British retreated through Menatomi, Samuel Whitmore, a 78-year-old farmer, decided he was going to do his part. And he sat on the side of a road and single-handedly ambushed the British troops retreating. Okay? And he took a bunch of them down. And you know what happened after that? He was shot 6 times in the face, he was clubbed, he was bayoneted, and he was left for dead. And that hardcore, stubborn American lived until he was 96 years old. Are you a Samuel Whitmore? Yeah. So I want to leave you with this today. It's not just about being vocal. It's not just about recognizing that nobody can take away our rights unless we allow them to. It's not just about standing out in the wind today. It's about getting together. It's about organizing. but it's about exercising the right to bear arms every single day. Go get trained. Go to the range. Get together with your fellow citizens, your fellow Washingtonians, and you know what's going to happen? We are the majority, and the majority is going to succeed, and they will never, ever, ever, ever come to take away our guns, because they're not going to have the political will to do so. And I believe that if we educate the next generation, they'll believe it as well, and they'll understand the truth behind it, that big government never knows best, never will, and that it is standing between, right now, the thing standing between chaos, freedom, is the right to bear arms. And I'm just glad to be out here with all you patriots today. God bless you guys. Keep up the fight, all right?
All right, up next we're going to have Ken Atkins. He's going to share with us the Initiative 1621 and why we should all be getting behind it.
Thank you. Thank you all for coming out.
Get it closer to the mic.
Turnout is fantastic. This is great. Also, thank you for everybody who's already signed the initiative. We've had incredible signatures today. So, I'm going to tell you a little bit about what Initiative 1621 is all about, what it does and what it doesn't do. There's some myths about what it is going to do. Initiative 1621 gives faculty of both public and private schools the option to, if they have a concealed pistol license, to carry their concealed weapon while they're on school grounds. Is that better at all? Maybe I gotta pick this thing up. Okay, can you hear me now? Is that better? Okay. I'll put that back down and just eat this thing. Okay, so we don't believe in this country that our Second Amendment rights end at some arbitrary line in a school parking lot. We believe that our faculty and our schools should be able to defend themselves even while they're in the classroom or on other areas of school grounds. Now, if a faculty member decides that they want to carry concealed on school grounds, should this initiative pass in November, they would be required to notify senior administration of the school, which is usually a principal, that they are going to carry. Now, don't get me wrong. This is not a request by them to ask if they can. This is them telling the administration that they will be carrying. Now, at that point, the board of directors of each school district will be responsible for setting down the minimum requirements of training for these members to be able to carry on school grounds. Now, why each school district set their own requirements? Because we don't want the state setting down some arbitrary requirement that all school districts have to follow, because Spokane School District might need a different requirement than Davenport, or Seattle, or Dayton. Okay, so the school district board of directors is who would set down that minimum training requirement. Another aspect of this initiative would be that parents when they're at a school on legitimate school business, say they've got a parent-teacher conference or they're going to a ball game, they would be allowed to concealed carry while they are at that school. Again, we don't believe that our Second Amendment right ends at some arbitrary line and in a parking lot.
Is this on? Can you hear me okay? No. Is this better or worse?
Worse, better.
Anything? Okay, I'm going back to the other one. I can hear myself really good there.
We're trying.
Okay, so here's one of the myths that I'm going to dispel right now, okay? This initiative does not allow for Joe Citizen that does not have legitimate business at a school to conceal carry by just showing up at a school and walking around and providing private security, okay? First of all, somebody just showing up at a school and walking around to provide personal security is kind of creepy, you know? Second of all, people are going to wonder, why is this person even here? And they're probably going to call the cops, and that's going to create a big problem, okay? So this does not allow for just anybody to show up at a school that has a concealed pistol license and provide private security.
What if it's my granddaughter?
If you're there on legitimate school business, you know, if you're there to see a play or she's, you know, singing in choir or something, absolutely. Doesn't matter your relationship. One of the other primary aspects of this initiative is it would end the sign that you see at every school that says gun-free zone. When you walk into a school and you see the gun-free zone sign, that's a big red flag, or a big flag for every person out there that wants to do something bad. It says, this is a soft target. We don't want our schools to be soft targets. We want our schools to be hard targets. We want the cowards that are going to go in and shoot up a school to think before they walk in there. We want every last one of them to know that in Washington State, there may be somebody in there that's got a gun. And they're going to shoot back. And they're going to defend their students. So, gun-free zone signs, gone. Okay? So, to wrap everything up, I'm over here at the red table. I've got the initiatives, the petitions to sign. Even if you're on the fence about it, come sign the petition, okay? Get it on the ballot. Let's get the conversation started. We've got to start getting this out and getting people talking about it. Thank you very much for your time.
Next up, we're going to have Randy Mace with the Lightfoot Militia. Give us some of his mind. Piece of his mind.
Take out the stuff.
All right, well, everybody, thanks for coming out.
Yeah, better.